Hey everyone, my name is Beth, I'm 20, and I've been told by a lot of people that I have my dad's sense of humor. Now, I've chosen to take it as a compliment, but my mom does always sound vaguely annoyed when she says that. But you know what? They're still married, so that's her issue. Anyways, so my dad's idol for the longest time has been a man named Steve Dahl. Steve Dahl was a disc jockey during the 70s and 80s, and he was on 97.9 The Loop, a hard rock station that is now dead, much like a lot of hard rock fans. Anyways, I recently found some of his stuff, listened to it, and something dawned on me. He wasn't very funny. So, I'm going to be looking at some of his stuff, specifically some of the song parodies he did, and I'm going to be giving him some constructive criticism, telling him how he could be more funny. All right, so before I really introduce you to Steve Dahl, here's something you should know about him. The thing he's most famous for is Disco Demolition Night. Basically, it was 1979. Disco was one of the biggest genres in the country, but it was starting to get backlash, especially from rock fans. So Steve Dahl, his radio co-host Gary Meyer, met up with a promotionalist for the White Sox, and they basically had a promotion where if you brought a disco record to Kaminsky Park for a Sox versus Tigers game, I believe, you would get a 98-cent baseball ticket. And then they would take all the disco records, put him in the middle of the field, and blow him up. Anyways, this was a doubleheader. So they blew up these disco records in the middle of two baseball games. The anti-disco White Sox fans all rushed out onto the field and completely ruined it, at least to the point where they were not going to be able to play another game, so the Tigers won by default. Anyways, this event has kind of a contested place within Chicago history. On the one hand, you have your people like Steve Dahl. He said this at the time. He maintains this now, that it was just a bunch of young teenage guys having fun, having a little mayhem, and they just didn't like disco because it wasn't a good genre. But then, on the other hand, you have people going at it and going, wait a second, this is a genre that was known for being popular among the LGBT community, that had its roots in Black music and Latino music, and this was happening in Bridgeport, a South Side neighborhood notorious for its racism, and it was happening while a lot of white flight was happening in Chicago. In other words, they look at this and they see an expression of homophobia and of racism, especially racist fears on the part of the young white men who were driving a lot of white flight. So, with that in mind, let's get into this first song parody. It's a parody of Do You Think I'm Sexy by Rod Stewart, which Steve Dahl creatively titled Do You Think I'm Disco. Let's give it a listen.
Don't you like my white three-piece suit? My gold Coke spoon, gold razor blade, and gold Italian snaggle tooth, you know? Come on, please dance with me. I wear tight pants, I always stuff a sock in. It always makes the ladies start to talk, and my shirt is open. I never use the buttons, though I look hip.
Steve Dahl was 24 when he recorded this. He was in his early 20s, and he already sounded like your great uncle does when he's on Facebook, ranting about kids these days and their ticking tocks and their tight pants. Like, I should not be saying, okay, boomer, to a 24-year-old.
Do you think I'm disco? 'Cause I spend so much time blow drying out my hair. Do you think I'm disco? 'Cause I know the dance steps, learned them all at Fred Astaire.
So, I think Steve wants us all to laugh at how feminine these disco guys are for blow drying their hair and dancing, of all things, but it's not really funny. It just kind of seems like Steve's trying to prove that he's a manly man because he can't dance.
I saw Saturday Night Fever 87 times. Please dance with me. Some people call me scum, because I don't have a realistic set of values. And you know what? I'm beginning to maybe think they're right.
Okay, that actually was pretty funny, Steve. But I'm gonna have to give you half credit, because it also sounds like a line that the bisexual atheist character would say in an evangelical propaganda film.
Hey, where are you going? Wait a second, listen, let's skip the dancing. Come back here and let's just go to my place. Do I live on the beach? No, I live in my car. I have a 280Z. No, wait, where are you going? Let me have your phone number. Wait, come back. What do you mean you don't have a phone? Let me have your address. I'll stop by and visit you. What do you mean you don't live anywhere?
And you know what? That was also pretty funny. So see, I'm not just a hater, guys. But I do hope that that isn't just him reenacting sometime a girl rejected him, because that would kind of ruin it.
I like to dance with girls in sleazy dresses, lipstick, nail charms, and makeup in excesses. Buy them a drink and try and get their number. Usually they are as cold as a cucumber.
Well, I do love a good rant about how the women who reject you are all cold-hearted bitches who just dress like sluts. But, you know, at least we can see that Steve Dahl has a logical reaction to being dumped. He blows up an entire fucking baseball field.
Do you think I'm disco? Maybe it's not too late to get into rock and roll. Rock and roll! I'll tell you something. I have never been happier now that I'm into this rock and roll thing. I sold my white three-piece suit at a garage sale last weekend. Made $25. Got rid of my 280Z. Picked myself up a beat-up old 69 Dart. Melted down all my gold jewelry into a Led Zeppelin belt buckle. I mean, things are happening.
And now our hero, living happily ever after, has given up on his life where he dances and listens to disco music, and has replaced it with a new, heteronormative life where he stands in one place and listens to rock music. Hey girl, I'm not some disco guy who dances and does his hair anymore. Nah, I'm a cool rock and roll dude. I'm completely heterosexual. I'm a rugged individual who dresses like every other guy my age. Yeah. I still smell like shit though. This next song parody is probably the most controversial song Steve Dahl has ever created. It's called Another Kid in the Crawl. It's a parody of Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd, and it's about serial killer and rapist John Wayne Gacy. When he started playing this on the radio in the Chicagoland area, which is the area where John Wayne Gacy committed most of his murders, families of the victims started calling him and basically saying that they didn't want it on the radio anymore. So he ended up taking it off and not playing it anymore. So yeah, let's take a listen to this.
He was afraid of male castration.
Alright, starting off with a dick joke. Good, those are very important.
A birthday clown who did construction. He liked to dig just like a mole.
Okay, now you're just reading the police report, man. Come on.
Hey! Daisy! Leave those kids alone!
I'm not not entirely sure why we needed this, hey Gacy, leave those kids alone. I mean, come on, who in 1980 wanted John Wayne Gacy around kids?
Free John Wayne Gacy, don't bring the clown down. Free John Wayne Gacy, don't bring the clown down. Free John Wayne Gacy, don't bring the clown down.
I stand corrected, I guess.
All in all, it's just another kid in the crawl.
Get it? Because John Wayne Gacy hid the bodies in his crawl space.
It's too late for resuscitation. In a million years, we'll turn to coal.
This is actually a really deep lyric about how even after death, you live on in the way you transform into the things that people find value, the way you, haha, just kidding, no.
Hey, Gacy, leave those kids alone. All in all, it's just another kid in the crawl.
All in all, I kind of expected this parody to be a little edgy or a little more shocking. You know, he was, after all, a shock jock. But it kind of just seemed like he was saying what everyone was thinking. He was just kind of being the everyman. And, you know, I get why people didn't want it on the radio right after the bodies were discovered in John Wayne Gacy's crawl space. But honestly, this is pretty tame. And now, I know what you're going to say. Oh, you're some jaded Gen Z kid who spends too much time on the internet. Of course you've seen worse things. And I mean, you're absolutely right, but... Now I'm just gonna let Steve himself introduce this next one.
Falklands!
Falklands! The 1982 war between Argentina and Britain that lasted 10...
Checking out the war on TV, Argentina and England getting down.
You guys didn't want the historical context for the Falklands War? Damn.
Those islands are filled with nothing but sheep. So that makes Margaret Thatcher little Bo Peep.
Steve, how dare you insult an iconic woman like this? My girl, Little Bo, is a gay icon, minors love her, and she's not a war criminal. Don't besmirch her name like this. Alright, now I'm just gonna try to get through the rest of this quickly because pretty much all the jokes in this are just about sheep. That's not even all the mentions of sheep in this song. But I am gonna show you one more joke.
All they have on those islands are sheep, no chicks. You go to that war, you come back with a sheep as a bride. I mean, at least if you went to the war in Vietnam, you got to come back with a Vietnamese bride if you wanted to. I mean, that was something. That was a consolation prize.
The Vietnam War was good because the Vietnam War had booby. But the Falklands War was bad because the Falklands War have no booby. Booby, no booby. Booby, no booby. Booby, no booby. Soldiers deserve dehumanized booby female consolation prize. That's just human rights. Ayatollah. It is a parody of My Sharona, and it's about the Iran hostage crisis. My dad and my uncle both fucking love it. They bring it up at so many goddamn family events. Anyways, here's a little bit of background about the Iran hostage crisis. for those of you who don't know, so anyways, my dad was born in 1970. So I just want to apologize to his teachers who had to deal with him and his classmates getting all their info about the Iran hostage crisis from this song. Let's get into it.
Ooh, you got a real nice beard, a real nice beard. You know it really caught on my eye. Ayatollah.
A big reason why I really don't like this song is that it's just one giant no homo. I mean, he's starting off by, complimenting the Ayatollah's appearance, saying he has a nice beard, and then look what happens.
But you know your mind is weird, your mind is weird. You really are a nutty kind of guy, Ayatollah.
Yeah, bro, I know I said he has a nice beard, but that didn't... I mean, he's crazy. He's weird. I don't like him or anything, okay?
Come on, cool your jets, meditate, eat a hamburger. Don't get us too upset or we'll do something nuclear. Bye, Ayatollah.
Every day I wonder how things would be different if at the height of the Cold War, instead of letting politicians and generals decide everything, they just gave the nuclear codes to a bunch of fucking disc jockeys.
Iran. Ayatollah. Americans are mostly cool, but now we're really starting to fry, Ayatollah. And if you were here, we'd hit you in the face with a pie, Ayatollah.
So Steve, I'm no geopolitical expert or anything, but I think you were the only one planning on cream pieing the Ayatollah.
I mean, nothing personal, man, I mean, I do like your sandals. Very sharp, dude. And that robe? Yes. You desert dudes are all so tanned. Can I see your tan lines?
So this song ends with Steve Dahl going back to complimenting the Ayatollah's appearance. And I was gonna say that this gave me hope. Because I don't know, he's recognizing that the Ayatollah has good tan lines, and that's good. But let's be honest, this whole thing of complimenting Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini's appearance is really just a worn out joke of, oh my god, what if I were gay for the Ayatollah? Who gives a shit? But it did make me think of this, thing I brought up at the beginning about, how the idea of disco demolition being racist or homophobic is contested. And you look at this whole thing, these whole videos, song parodies, whatever. And a lot of it is this, white man identity thing where he's doing this aggressive posturing about nuking Iran. He's talking about how Vietnamese women are his consolation prizes. But, I look at that and I see it's him constructing this white man identity. And I think within that context, it is really hard to argue that there were no racist or homophobic aspects to Disco Demolition Night. Because look at what type of identity, is being put forth as ideal here. But the second thing I want to say is this whole, masculine posturing thing is probably some of the most inauthentic shit I could think of. So, look, authenticity is key. And I think that if you really want to get at why Steve Dahl's stuff really isn't funny, I think part of it is joke construction and all that, shock value wearing out over the years. But I also think part of it is just the inauthenticity of it all. It's really hard to be funny when you aren't being you. And that's really all I have to say.